This presentation is supported by our regional water supplier, Tarrant Regional Water District. TRWD maintains 4 area lakes and pipelines needed to provide surface water to local water treatment plants so they can clean it to meet drinking water standards for our communities. They also work with many cities in Tarrant County, such as Fort Worth, Arlington, and Mansfield, to provide water conservation programs for the community. Conservation is an important water supply strategy to help meet the needs of a growing population. There are currently 2.3 million people in Tarrant County, and this is expected to double over the next 50 years. This is why TRWD supports many programs that help save water through outdoor watering and gardening education. At SaveTarrantWater.com, you can sign up for free weekly watering advice custom to your location. If you are a resident of Tarrant County, you can sign up for a free sprinkler system checkup where a licensed irrigator comes to your home and provides a comprehensive evaluation of your system with recommendations to reduce water waste. There is also an event calendar where you can find important information about future classes and workshops. TRWD also partners with organizations like Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service and the Tarrant County Master Gardeners to provide educational programs just like this one. Be sure to check out SaveTarrantWater.com and sign up for their free services.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank y'all for coming in from your gardens. It's so beautiful outside, but thank you for coming and letting me share just a very basic introduction to raising backyard chickens. Oops. The popularity of backyard chickens has grown exponentially over the last decade, but especially since COVID. People were at home. They were looking for things to do, ways to fill their lives since so many things had stopped. Also, people began to see that the large poultry, the chicken industry, the egg industry, is not always a pleasant thing. And people began to think that maybe there was a better way, and backyard chickens kind of spoke to their heart. There are some environmental concerns that have made people want to look at raising backyard chickens. And self-sufficiency. There's something really nice about going out into your own backyard and getting your own eggs from your own hen house. And that has resonated with a lot of people. I don't know if you've had the experience lately of going to the grocery store and the eggs were either very expensive or they were unavailable. And supply chain issues can make things pretty frustrating. There are a lot of substitutions in the kitchen, but there aren't always a lot of substitutions for eggs. So having them in your backyard can be pretty nice. It is a great hobby. Backyard chickens get you outdoors. They get you some exercise. And whether they are small chicks or your full-grown hens, they are so much fun to watch and to have an interaction with. They make really good pets if you want them to be pets for you. Some people want to have backyard chickens so that they can save money. When those eggs were so expensive at the store, they assumed that having chickens in their own backyard would save them money. And that is false, because you're going to have your initial outlay of the expensive fencing, a hen house, the feeders, the waterers. So you're not going to get into this to save any money, at least not initially. But really, the bottom line of having backyard chickens is for the eggs, eggs, eggs. They are delicious. So if you've decided that backyard chickens might be for you, it all starts with real estate, which is your yard. And you have a decision to make right away. You get to decide whether you want to free range your chickens, which means you're just going to let them have your yard, or if you want to have them in a run. Now, an advantage to having chickens free range is that if you already have a fenced yard that is secure, you don't have to buy any fencing, so you're one step ahead. If your chickens are free range and just roaming your yard, your feed expense can be lower because they're going to spend their day eating bugs and grass and weeds and things like that. So you may not spend as much money on chicken feed. There's something really beautiful about looking out into your yard and seeing chickens just roaming. Because some of them are so pretty and they are so sweet, and it is lovely to see. Your chickens can dig wherever they want to. They're going to find the grubs, the crickets, the things that the grasshoppers, they're going to find the bugs. They're going to dig wherever they want to, which means if you have a vegetable garden or a lovely flower bed, they're going to dig there too. They are also going to poop wherever they are, which is nice fertilizer for your yard. But if you have a sidewalk, patio furniture, a pool deck, they're also going to poop there. So you'll have to keep that in mind if you've got company coming over, or just whether that's the aesthetic you want for your yard. But if you are letting them free range, you really don't have to limit yourself on how many chickens you have if your yard is a good size, because there'll be plenty of space for all of them. In our yard, I have vegetable beds where I like to raise vegetables, and I have flower beds all around the yard. And so for us, when we got chickens, free range was not really an option. We needed to have the chickens in a run, which meant that we had some fencing decisions and the fencing expense. We started with field fence, but found that the hardware cloth is better for us. The little birds can't get in, the snakes can't get in, and that has worked the best for us. If your chickens are in a run, feed is going to matter, because they are going to get the bugs that get through your fencing, but they're relying on you for their feed. Now, the chickens are always in their place, so you know where they are, and they're going to dig only in designated places, and their poop is restricted to that area. The catch is you are going to have to think about how much space you have and how many hens you have, because you want them to have plenty of room to move around. Again, we're trying to be the opposite of big poultry and the chicken industry. We're wanting to have a kinder environment for them. So either way, you're going to want to make sure that they have plenty of sun, but that they also have access to shade, because you know it gets hot here in Texas. You're going to want to be sure that they are not in a low or soggy area. They don't mind getting their feet wet. They will run around in the rain, but they don't want to live in a wet environment. You want to be sure that they have a dusting area. In our run, we have a big wash tub that has soil, sand, and ash, kind of a mix. And the ladies take turns during the day getting in and taking a dust bath. This can help with mites, and it keeps their skin healthy. Plus, they seem to really, really just enjoy it. And again, we're trying to make a good spot for them. You want it to be convenient, because you're going to be out there as often as you can. So whether you decide to free range or to have them in a run, just remember that almost everything eats chicken. And so if you have them out in your yard, you want to be sure that their area is secure. You're not just trying to keep your chickens in. That's pretty easy. They're not real aggressive, but you want to keep predators out. And so as you're considering your yard, you'll want to think like a predator. They can climb over, they can fly, they can dig, they can come at your chickens from above or below. So you're going to want to be sure that they have a safe, secure run or yard. All right, so now you have your real estate, so you're going to need a house. And what kind of house do you want? Well, that depends on you. You can create your own if that's what you enjoy doing. You can buy plans. There are a lot of plans online. There are actually a lot of plans that are free, that are online, that you can build yourself. If you go to Atwood's, Tractor Supply, your local feed store, lots of times they'll have some samples. They'll have some kits that are available that you can buy and take home and put together. And those are usually pretty functional, and you're going to be able to see the quality of some is better than others, but that's an option too. You can repurpose a small shed if you have one, or a playhouse that your children have outgrown. So I would encourage you to start small. If you've never had chickens before, make sure that this is something that you enjoy. Consider your space and your budget, because you do want to watch that. And remember that you can always add on later. Got a few pictures here of some different kinds of hen houses that people have used, and your chickens actually aren't going to spend very much time in their house. They prefer to be outdoors. The main reason you have a hen house for them is to be able to, for them to be able to get out of the elements and to have some protection from predators. This is also where they're going to lay their eggs. So you will need nesting boxes in their hen house. You can see these different pictures. Some of them, the nesting boxes extend outside of the house and some are built inside. And you will not need a nesting box for every hen. I have 7 hens and they typically all lay in the same box. Whichever chicken lays the first egg, she picks the box for the day, and generally the rest of them go in and lay in the same box, which makes it really handy when you go to collect your eggs. And this is fun to watch because those chickens will sit in the nesting box and it may take them 20 minutes, 30 minutes to lay an egg. And so they'll pick at the hay and arrange it all around. Some of them just get in there and close their eyes and look like they're just relaxing until they lay their egg. So you need nesting boxes in your house. The other thing that you're going to need is roosts, because chickens don't sleep in their nests like most other birds do, and they don't want to sleep on the ground. They want to get up, they know where they are on the food chain, and they want to get up off of the ground. Most roosts inside a hen house are going to be a ladder style, and the top chicken in the pecking order is typically going to get on the highest roost. That's the prime real estate. And then the other chickens will come up there and roost with them. In the wintertime, they will snuggle up really nice and close to each other to stay warm. And you'll notice in the summer, they give each other a little bit more space. You want to allow for about 10 to 12 inches per chicken on your roost. So if you have 6 chickens, you're going to want to have at least 60 linear inches of roost in your hen house. It's nice if you can have a ladder system. One roost that's higher, another that's slightly lower, because as your chickens age, you're going to notice that some of them don't want to jump off from the top roost down to the floor of your hen house. They're older and they don't like that jump. So to be able to go to a lower roost and then to the ground is nice. And again, we're trying to take care of these girls because they're providing a good service to us. So the bottom line is that whether it's elaborate or simple, the purpose of a hen house is really to provide protection from the elements and predators, to give them a secure place to sleep at night with those roosts and doors that you can shut, and a clean, safe place to lay their eggs. Here we go. See, I'm sorry about that. You have your real estate and you have your house, and you need one more thing before you go get those chickens. You need a brooder box. And because we're bringing these babies home, these chicks that have not yet learned how to regulate their body temperature. They are very small, and so we really want to watch out for them. A brooder box, you can see from these pictures, it can be a tub, a bin. It can be an igloo with the top cut out. We've always used a rabbit cage, an old rabbit cage, and some other people can use a pet kennel. So you have a lot of options there. Mainly you want to be sure that this is a secure place. Because your pet, your dog that you've had for 7 years, your cat that you've had for 10 years is your pet. But when you bring chicks home, they're a predator. So you want to be sure you have a good, safe place for these babies. They'll need to have bedding, and you can buy a big bale of shavings, and you'll work through that as you change out their brooder regularly. They'll need fresh water. You'll buy chick starter at your feed store. And then you're going to need a heat lamp. And I'd encourage you to put your heat lamp to one end of your brooder box, and you're going to be able to watch these chickens. When they're feeling cold, they're going to scoot over toward the end where the heat lamp is. If they're starting to get hot, they're going to go away from that lamp. And you're going to want to really watch them when you first bring them home, and you're going to be able to tell how they're managing their temperature. I've read that the best temperature is about 90 degrees. That is the ideal temperature in a brooder box. But I've never had a thermostat in mine. With new chickens, I'm looking at them all the time. So I watch and see how they're managing their temperature control. They're going to stay in this brooder box for 3 to 6 weeks. It kind of depends on the outdoor temperatures and when you're able to move them into the hen house and when you feel like that's safe. You're going to need to change their bedding, their feed, and their water regularly because they are babies and they are messy, but they are really cute. So now that you have the real estate, you have the house, and you have the brooder, it is time to get chicks. But don't say I didn't warn you, because you need to know that there are very few things in life that are as cute as these days old chicks that you're going to bring home. Now, there are a lot of chicken breeds. I haven't looked to see exactly how many, but there are a lot. There are fancy ones. I gave you a few pictures here of some crested ones that have all the feathers on top. There are the frizzly ones that look like they've been in a humid area. And then you have your real standard, what you think of a chicken being. You can check with your local feed store to see which kind of breeds they tend to have so that you'll know what you're going to be able to get. The easiest, but research your breeds and kind of think about what you'd like for your flock to look like, because I think we all have preferences. Now, there's a little bit of poultry lingo that you're going to want to know before you go to get your chickens. We're talking about chickens. That's what all these birds are. And you know that if it's a male, he's called a rooster, unless he's not a year old, in which case he's called a cockerel. A female is called a hen, unless she's not a year old yet, in which case she's called a pullet. So when you show up at the feed store at Woods Tractor Supply, you are looking for pullets, unless you want a rooster. But most of us are looking for eggs, and so we want a hen. A little anatomy. This part on the top is called their comb, and some breeds have a beautiful, big, showy comb on top, and some have what's called a pea comb. It's much smaller. And again, you can think about what you want your chickens to look like, because that varies from breed to breed. The flesh that hangs down below their beak is called a wattle. It's spelled with T's and not D's, and that's just for free. That's some chicken trivia that I thought you needed to know. When you look at these different breeds, the words you're going to hear the most frequently are bantam, which are the smaller chickens. Some of them are lovely. Their coloring is lovely. Their personalities are great. But again, these are a smaller bird, which means less meat, smaller eggs. But people that raise them tend to really, really love them. I've never had any bantams, but they're pretty cute. Broilers or fryers. That's kind of self-explanatory. Those are chickens for meat. Now, if you're not sure as you're raising chickens whether you're going to be able to process your chickens for meat, because I can't. I thought maybe I could, but I haven't been able to yet. So you might want to look for a dual purpose bird if you're not sure. This is a bird that is a meaty bird, a good chicken for meat, but is also a good layer. So a dual purpose bird gives you kind of a way out if you think you might process them, but then you find out you can't. You're still getting some really good eggs. Your heavies are your larger breeds. Lots of meat, lots of eggs. They tend to eat a lot too. So if you see assorted heavies, sometimes you'll see that. And those are just your bigger breeds. But the ones that are just really, really good at egg production are your layers. And that's what most of us want. All right, so you have your real estate, your house, your brooder box. You kind of thought through your breeds, and now we've got to figure out where we want to get our chicks. Did you know you can get them in the mail? Well, you can. And one of the best websites out there is Murray McMurray Hatcheries. Their website is so informative. It's going to explain all the different breeds that are out there, their pros and cons for all of them. And they are a great source of specialty chickens. Maybe you want hens that lay blue eggs, or maybe you want hens that lay those really dark chocolate brown eggs, or maybe you want the cresteds that have the feathers on top. A mail order is a great way to do that. They're going to have a lot of specialty chickens. Or if you want to get them local, you can go to Atwood's, Tractor Supply, your farm and ranch stores. They're going to have a decent selection, a good variety for you. Now, their staff is going to know farm and ranch. They may or may not know chickens, which can be a drawback. Lots of times they're going to have straight run, which we'll talk about later, but that means 50-50 on pullets and cockerels, and most of us want pullets, but you can watch the chicks running around in the tank and or the bin, and you can hand pick your chicks. It's kind of fun. You can start to see their personality as they're in the bin. My personal favorite is a local feed store. We have a bunch. We're blessed to have Russell Feed here in Tarrant County, and I don't even know how many. 6 or 7, maybe 8 now, and they are wonderful. Their variety changes fairly regularly. They used to special order chicks for you, but because backyard chickens have become so popular, I'm not sure you can do that. You might need to check with them. Their staff is typically very knowledgeable and helpful. They're going to have breeds that are good for our area. They can handle our heat and our cold. Another really great thing is they're going to provide support for you in the future. As you're raising your chickens, if you start to have some questions or if you start to have some issues, your local feed store is going to offer you some really good support. They're typically very knowledgeable. And again, like with the big box stores, you're going to be able to actually look at those chicks and hand pick them, which you can't do through mail order. I do want to warn you, when you get your chicks, go ahead and have a rough number of how many you want to get before you even walk in the door. Because you're going to say you want 4, but you're going to notice that 6 of them are super cute. And when you get home, you're going to realize you have 10. Chicken math is a real thing, and there is currently no cure for it. So you might want to make your decision before you get to the store. All right, you're going to drive home so carefully with that little box of chicks in your car, and you're going to bring them home. You're going to put them in that brooder box where they have their bedding, their water, their feed, and you're going to look at them, and then you're going to think, what do we do now? Well, first thing you want to do is handle them. Handle them gently, but handle them often. This is going to make them friendly, and that's what we want. If we're going to be raising these gals for years, we want them to be friendly. Talk to them just like you do your other pets. They're going to learn your voice and respond to you, and that's really beneficial just as you raise them over time. Let them eat from your hand and give them treats every now and then, because they're going to start to associate you with good things, and that makes them come easily if you need them to. And it just makes for a really pleasant relationship with these hens. Keep their home clean and their food and their water fresh, because they're going to learn to trust you. They're going to see that you're their person. And that's what we want to do. We want to give them a good life because they're performing a service for us. One thing you want to watch with the newest chicks is watch for something called pasting up. Pasting up is an easy fix, but it can be fatal. And what this is just this cute little chicken with this cute little fluffy bottom will sometimes poop, and that poop will get stuck in his little downy feathers. And so then the next time he poops, he now has a problem, because that poop will just continue to stick to what is there, and he can actually paste up his little bottom so that he can't excrete any more waste. And that can kill a chick in less than 24 hours. So you're just going to want to keep an eye on your chicks. And if you notice that they've got that little pasty bottom, all you need is a warm, damp rag, and just pick up the little chick, and clean that off. It'll moisten up real easy for you, and just wipe that away and buff him nice and dry. And then keep an eye on that chick for the next week or two. My experience has been that if a chick tends to paste up, he might do it again or again. But again, it's an easy fix. You just want to be diligent. And that little chick is going to respond well to that intimacy, that time that you spend with him, and may end up being one of your most loyal little chicks. So it's worth it. Watch out for that. Okay, so we've moved them from the brooder box out to the hen house. We're giving them their feed. We're keeping their water clean. We're keeping their house clean. And now we're wondering, when do we eat? Most breeds are going to start laying at 5 to 6 months old. So you're going to be investing time and energy for quite a while before you get any payback. But once you do start to get the payback, depending on the breed, you're going to get 3 to 6 eggs a week per hen. The eggs generally will start a little small, but they'll get big pretty quick as this chicken continues to lay. They're going to lay for you for 2 to 3 years. Again, it varies with the breed. And sometimes their production will slow down in the winter as we have less daylight. But you can put a light. We put one generally on a timer and just give them a couple of extra hours of light in the morning or the evening. We've done it both ways, but just a couple of extra hours of light. So they're getting 14 to 16 hours of light a day. And they're going to lay really well for you for years. But in all fairness, I do need to tell you that one day, this may happen when your chickens are about 18 months old and you're just used to looking at them. And one morning you're going to walk out and your run or your yard is going to have a bunch of feathers in it and your chicken looks awful. Now, odds are this is called a molt, and it's normal. It's nothing to panic about. I didn't know about it the first time my first chicken molted, and I was really scared because she looked terrible. But this is a natural part of their life cycle. They lose their feathers. They're going to stop laying eggs. They don't lose all their feathers, but they lose a lot of them. They're going to stop laying, and you can kind of think of it as just a hard reset. And this hen's been working really hard to lay eggs. Generally, a molt will happen when they're about 1.5 years old. So she's been laying eggs for a long time. And so a nice reset, a little break is good for her. The feathers will grow back in 4 to 6 weeks, and they're beautiful. And that chicken will start laying, and her eggs are going to be bigger than they were before. Typically, the production is going to be really good too. You're going to watch your chickens, though, during a molt because the pecking order is real. And chickens notice if another hen looks funny or seems weak, and they will sometimes pick on each other. So if you have a hen that is molting, just watch and make sure that she's not being bullied and that she's still getting adequate food and water, because her nutrition is really important during a molt, and you want to take good care of her during that time. And once the molt is over, you've got a beautiful chicken running around in your yard again. And we have found in our family that backyard chickens are pretty awesome. These are 5 of my grandkids, and they have all really grown to love our backyard chickens. Now, I think we had Nancy Curl and Teresa Thomas came out to my house a couple of weeks ago and took some pictures of my girls and of our setup. And so Kelly Perry made a video for us, and I think Dick is going to get that running for us now.
I'm ready to start.
Thank you.
Mark, thank you.
If you decide to have chickens in your yard, another thing to think about is the kind of environment that they're going to have. We look at that when we're growing our garden, how much sun exposure, how much shade. chickens have a pretty high body temperature and can tolerate some real extremes. They can tolerate our Texas winters and our Texas summers, but they do need some shade. When the day gets hot, the ladies like to be in the shade. So this is a volunteer tree that came up about 5 years ago and has just been very happy in the chicken run. It gives some lovely shade for the girls in the summer, which is something that they do like. So that's a consideration to have. If you don't have natural shade in your yard, you'll want to have some way that they can get out of the sun and be cool. Now when we get extremes in our temperature, this is a time when you can show a little extra love for your hens, and it pays off. You want to take good care of them. They're working hard for you every day, laying these delicious eggs. When we have our real cold snaps, I have a heat lamp that's here in the hen house. It's attached to the top. You want to be sure that it's anchored securely. You don't want it to fall and catch your hay on fire or your bedding on fire. That's happened. So be careful when you add a heat source that you make sure that it's anchored well. You're not trying to get it to the same temperature as your house. I typically turn the heat lamp on if we get into the upper 20s. Anything else, the girls are cozy and they handle things just fine. But when we drop into the upper 20s or lower, we turn on the heat lamp. If you'll notice, the hen house has a ramp outside of each door that the chickens can go in and out of. Having your hen house up off the ground gives the chickens a place to get out of the sun, get out of the elements. It also gives them protection from predators so that they can help keep themselves safe and monitor their temperature that way. Another thing to consider as you create your environment for your hens is something to keep them busy. They spend a lot of their time during the day when they're not laying just enjoying a beautiful day, just like we can. But a happy flock, a flock that has something to do, a way to focus their energy, is less likely to antagonize each other. You're going to see less bullying or any problems in the run if they have something to do. When we took down our old attic staircase and put in a new one, you'll notice we've got a ladder. Part of the ladder is over there. We've got another piece of the ladder over here. Chickens like to climb on things, and they like to get up off the ground. They feel like they're safe. So we have a ladder in our run. My husband built a little play set that they can climb on, where I also store hay to keep it up off the ground. I have some big branches over here, and I'll rearrange the stack for them every now and then. There are stumps in the run that they like to sit on top of. They kind of play Queen of the Mountains sometimes. Anything you can do to make their environment stimulating for them is going to keep them from picking on each other. It's going to help them enjoy their day, because remember, these girls are working hard to lay these healthy, delicious eggs for us. So anything we can do to make their life a little more fun is definitely a good investment. I've had chickens for about 16 years, I think, and I've never had any significant disease problems. I think if you give them a clean environment, make sure that their water stays fresh, and that you keep their house relatively clean, I've never had a lot of problems. There are some sicknesses that chickens can get, and that is another reason that I highly recommend getting your chickens from a local feed store. You're going to get some good support there, people that are knowledgeable about the diseases that chickens can get. They're going to be good at giving you suggestions on how to address them. And never had to take a chicken to the vet. We've always been able to just address things here at home. But again, I've never had any really serious problems keeping things clean and being proactive. It's kind of like in your garden. You can eliminate a lot of the problems on the front side if you're diligent in that way. Doing things in the right order really matters. So just like you want to have a house for your hens before you get your chicks, you also want to check with your neighborhood, check with your city. Some cities allow hens but no roosters. Some cities don't allow hens at all. Some HOAs will allow hens but no roosters, and some HOAs say no to chickens as well. I'm typically a rule follower, but I do want to encourage you, if you live in a city that has an ordinance that bans chickens, if you really want chickens, to your city councilman and ask them if they would consider revisiting their ordinance. Here in Saginaw, several years ago, chickens were not allowed, but we had some children, some industrious children from our church come out, and they really liked our chickens and they wanted chickens, but were told as residents of Saginaw they couldn't have any. And they sat down and got to work and explained why chickens are good for the environment, why they're not harmful for your neighborhood, why they're healthy for a family. And they presented that to the city council, and the ordinance was changed. And so now you can have a small backyard flock in the city of Saginaw. And lots of times once people know, are chickens messy? Yes, if you have a lot of them, but not if you have a few of them. Are chickens noisy? Just for a minute when they sing their egg song, but hens are not noisy. Are they stinky? Again, if you have a chicken farm. I don't have a chicken farm, so you can't smell my chickens here. So, yeah, check with your ordinance, see what's approved, and I highly recommend having a small backyard flock. When you go to pick out your chicks, besides knowing what breed you want, of course you'd rather have a hen, because the hen delivers the eggs. The rooster is just for show. He's handsome and loud. If you go to a reputable feed store, they are going to have people who've done their best to identify the breeds of chickens. Over the year, I've had chickens for 16 years and I've only gotten one rooster. So these people are pretty good at their job. If you go to Atwood's or Tractor Supply, sometimes you'll see a sign that says straight run. And that means that they have just taken all of the chicks that hatched and have put them out for sale, which means that about half of them are roosters, about half of them are hens. And I typically won't buy any chicks that are straight run because roosters aren't especially good for meat even. They're not a real meaty bird and they don't lay eggs. So most of us want pullets. We want hens that are gonna lay eggs for us. So if you can, avoid straight run because your odds are a whole lot better that you'll get a hen. And there are about as many different houses for your chickens as there are people to make them. You can go to Atwood's or Tractor Supply, your local feed store, and they sell some great kits that have a hen house with a little enclosed run that you can build, and those are wonderful. Ours was actually a playhouse plan that my husband adapted by adding nesting boxes onto the back. This is Lantana's egg song. This is me. Means that she is just about to lay an egg, or she just did. I've always maintained a fairly small flock of hens. I've had from 4 to 12. I like to eat and I like to bake. We have 4 children and 6 grandchildren, and neighbors who know that we have chickens. So I never have too many eggs, but you can sell eggs. I've had people approach me about buying my eggs. I make sure that they know that I don't have any kind of health inspector come out, that these are just my chickens in my yard. They can see my setup, and if they want to buy my eggs, if I have extras, I'll sell them to them. Generally, I give them away to folks that can use them or that need them. There probably are some ordinances out there. I don't know what they are. I don't do this on a big enough scale to go and sell them at a farmer's market or anything like that. But I do know that if you have fresh eggs in your yard, you're going to have plenty of people that'll be willing to take them off your hands for you. Watching them grow from those tiny little chicks that you get to name and get to know, then they turn into these big girls that lay really delicious eggs for you and provide some fun company in the yard. The reality is, though, that at some point these girls are going to get old and they're not going to be laying anymore. And even if they don't have any health problems, sometimes the decline will be noticeable. And that's where I go back to my nursery again. And it has turned into hospice in the past. And that's an opportunity just to put that chicken in a place that you can see it has windows on all the sides, so it's nice and bright, but it is a good shelter. I can keep clean food and water and clean bedding in there. keep an eye on that chicken just a little bit better. It also pulls her out of the pecking order because the hens will notice if another hen is ill or is weak, and that can sometimes create some issues. So you'll want to think about what you will do when the time comes that you either have a chicken that is ill or elderly, and if you have someone that can help you kindly put that chicken down, or you can give them a nice little place to live out their life. That's the hard part, but we're grown-ups here, so that's the reality of it as well. Use that little house for hospice, and I've never known why any of those hens passed. They generally just, they got older, they got slower, and they peacefully passed away. At that point, I do close up the little hospice, and I wait before I introduce any new chickens. That's where my vodka comes in. I'll give it a real good cleaning just in case there was anything wrong with that hen. I'll make sure and keep the windows open so I get a lot of good air. And I typically will go a month to 6 weeks before I introduce anybody else back into that house, just to make sure that everything is good. That's been my experience. I haven't had any issues doing it that way. You might find something that works better for you, but it's worked real well over here. When I first got chickens, I had read that they need to have 4 cubic feet per area inside their hen house and at least 8 cubic feet to run in. So then you get a chance to do the math. I just know when we had a little hen house and we're starting to fence, we wanted it to be a place that we would want to be. We wanted it to be pleasant and a place that they would enjoy. Now, I started out with field fence, and the run was about 1/4 of the size it is now. Listen to the egg song. But as we got more chickens, and as we realized that we were probably going to always have chickens, the run has gotten larger over time, and we did find that the welded wire is, or hardware cloth, the hardware cloth is much better. Just, it's safer for the hens, very durable. You're going to invest a little bit of money into it when you buy it, but it'll last forever. So it's definitely worth it. As gardeners, one thing to keep in mind is always to start small. We found that to be true in our gardens. Start small, learn from your successes and failures, let your problems be small, and then grow. The more experience you get and the more confidence you get. So I would encourage, if anybody were going to start with chickens, that they just start with 2 or 3 or 4. Start small and live and learn. See if this is really something that you enjoy. That'll limit the financial investment, the time investment. On a day-to-day basis, these girls do not take a lot of time. I check their water, I check their feed, and like I mentioned, you clean the hen house out, but that's on a daily basis. That's pretty minimal. However, if you decide to leave for the weekend, you're going to need somebody. You may have a neighbor who likes eggs that will come and check. You don't want to leave the eggs in the hen house overnight because that just draws the predators. So you want to be sure that you have somebody that can come and check your chickens, collect the eggs, make sure their water's fresh and that everything's okay. So they do tie you to your property just a little bit, but I'm home a lot anyway, so it works out for me. That is something that does happen. One of the biggest unexpected blessings of having chickens has been my opportunity to share chickens with children. From the time we get the little chicks that everybody wants to come and see, it's a great opportunity to start introducing the value and the importance of how you treat something that's smaller than you, that's weaker than you, and the kindness, the compassion that you need to have for it, to guard it, to watch out for it, to make sure that it has everything that it needs. And I think for children to understand, they can see it so clearly when they're looking at a chick. They can understand how vulnerable it is and the needs that it has. And that's a beautiful thing. We need our children to see the importance of kindness and compassion and gentleness. When the chickens are bigger, We're careful that if they're sitting on a nesting box, which means that they're laying an egg, we're going to leave that hen alone. She's doing her job, and she deserves respect, and she deserves privacy, and so we will leave her alone. We'll go get her egg later once she's finished laying it. And so my grandparents' experience with chickens was life, sustenance, life. You wanted chickens either for the meat, but primarily for the eggs. They're just a really good, dependable source. What people don't always think about, you look at a chicken, but you don't think about the proteins that we need to build our muscles and just to keep us healthy. And an egg has all 9 of your essential amino acids. So I sound like a commercial for eggs and chickens, but I guess maybe I am, because that perfectly portioned, you're not going to overeat, a little 70 to 90 calorie protein pack has all the essential elements or amino acids that you need to keep you healthy, and right there, delivered daily in your backyard. So, do you refrigerate your eggs or do you not? That depends. When a hen first lays an egg, if you can get out here right after she gets off her nest, you'll notice that it's moist on the outside. This is referred to as bloom, and it is a natural sealant for the egg and also has a little bit of antibiotic or antibacterial element to it as well. So you can take that egg and put it on your kitchen counter, and I've been told that it can sit there for 6 weeks unrefrigerated, and it's always ready to use, and it will be fine. Some people aren't as crazy about that idea, so they can pop them in the refrigerator. If these eggs are laid and then washed, they do need to be refrigerated, which is why the ones that we get from the store, even if they're free range or cage free or anything like that, they've all been washed, and that's why they're refrigerated. All right, besides the joy of bringing home day-old chicks, bringing them to your house and getting to watch them grow up, besides the joy of watching these girls grow up and enjoy the benefits of your garden and your bugs and all of those things, you get a chance to have these delicious eggs that you get to share with your beautiful friends. What's better than that?
Thank you, Joann. That was wonderful. I think you're muted.
How's that?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good.
Let's see if we got any questions here. All of them are just saying what a wonderful job you've done.
Oh,
One of them wants to know how you keep the hawks away.
oh, I know that is a challenge. Now, you can't see really from the picture that's behind me, but I do have poultry net strung across the top of my run, and I like it. It's visually, it's not a problem for me. I have neighbors 2 houses down on either side that have chickens that they free range, and but I go out sometimes and have a hawk sitting on my hen house looking at my girls. So I'm not ready to have. I had a hawk kill my rooster a few years ago, and that really hurt my heart. So I string poultry netting across the top. I did see that someone mentioned on here, though, that if they're free range, they are just kind of fair game, but they're smart. They'll figure it out. And if you have bushes or low trees, I think you mentioned, or a hen house that's elevated, then when they see the shadow of the hawk, they'll run for cover. I just always keep a net over mine. The only time it's a problem is when we get those hailstorms in the spring. It'll tear my net down and I have to start over, but otherwise I keep net over the top. One thing that I forgot to mention as far as cleaning the hen house is, I think it was in my slides, so some of you may have seen it. There are a lot of different commercial cleaners that are out there that will kill bacteria, they'll kill mites or whatever else, and just in general to help you clean your hen house. I personally am a big fan of bottom shelf vodka. I get the biggest, cheapest plastic bottle that they have at the local liquor store. I put it in a spray bottle, and I use that when I take the hay out of the nesting boxes. I'll spray it down. The vodka dries quickly. Since we're not drinking it, it's non-toxic. Doesn't hurt the hens. It doesn't smell bad. Like some of the cleaners have kind of a funky smell that I don't like. And it's not very expensive. So it kills the bugs and it kills the germs. And that is my absolute favorite. So I meant to mention that to y'all and I didn't. Another thing is, since we are master gardeners, a great thing about your backyard chickens is that there's not any waste. You know how it is, you're growing your vegetable garden and we get a big rain and now some of your tomatoes have blossom end rot. So you don't want those tomatoes, but your chickens do. Or how about the okra or the cucumber that somehow you miss, and it goes from being 2 inches long to being 9 inches long, and it's tough and you don't want to eat it. Your chickens want to eat it. They love it. So again, I love that when you have chickens, there's just no waste. Everything is going and coming. It's all part of the cycle. And yeah, I'm sorry, I sound like a commercial for chickens again.
What is your strategy for composting the poop for use in the garden?
Oh, when I clean out the hen house, I have hay in the nesting boxes, and then I have hay on the floor underneath their roost, because that's where the poop collects overnight. So I have a bucket and a little rake and a big dustpan, and I scrape up the hay and the poop from underneath the roofs, and I throw it into my compost pile. And then I throw fresh hay onto the floor and just repeat the cycle. So that the poop and the hay go into the compost heap, and just as I turn it, it all gets mixed in, and chicken poop done that way is garden gold. So and it's not stinky, so it's not a problem.
Sounds good. How do you introduce your new baby chicks to the mature adult chicks?
Oh, that's always a challenge. I saw that Erin Chanel mentioned how she had done hers, that when their babies left the brooder, that they closed off part of their run. And that's what we do too, that once those babies are big enough to go out to the hen house, you can see I've got a smaller house that's out there in our run. That's where the babies go. And I string some fence between the babies and the big girls so that they can see each other, but they can't get to each other. And that way they start figuring each other out. And they might try to peck, the big ones might try to peck through the fence, but the little ones can get away. Erin said that they did the same thing, just closed off a spot so they could see each other. And then she put hers in when they were around 3 months old and just kind of watched it. Typically, your older girls will stick together, your younger ones will stick together, and then they eventually just end up mingling. Occasionally, there was one year that I had a bully bird that just was merciless with the little ones. The other older hens accepted the newer ones, but I did have one that was a bully bird, and I gave her away, and she went and joined another flock. Because we weren't going to have a bully in our yard. We want to have a happy hen house and a happy hen farm. So
yeah, I think you answered this other one, because our question was what you do with your old straw and your bedding, and that is you put it in the compost pile, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Right. What about introducing your dogs to the chicks? How do you handle that?
I do not have a dog. That's where I know that my daughter has 2 dogs, and the one is an older Cocker Spaniel, and she was curious about their first chicks, and I think they kind of watched her just to make sure everything would be fine. But her name is Lady, and she is a lady, and she didn't hurt them. They have another dog now that's still kind of a puppy, and he's learning. about the chickens, but I do think that one got out, and I think he ate it. But I don't think he's done it again. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a dog, and so I I don't know. We may have some other people that could give a better answer to that. I know you go, I mean, our grandparents, when they had farms, they had dogs and chickens and cats, and I guess survival of the fittest, maybe. Maybe some folks can help us here.
One of the ladies wants to know what exactly you feed them. What do you feed your hens?
Mostly I feed them Laina, the chicken feed from the store, but they also get when I make a salad and you've got the ends of things, then they know that that's going to come. They watch me in the evenings when I come out in case I have any table scraps for them. You can read up on some of the things that chickens aren't supposed to have. I think I mentioned that before, but we'll give them, they love pasta. And so sometimes if the grandkids have been over and I have extra leftover macaroni and cheese, the chickens really do love that. But I mostly feed them the commercial feed, and then any table scraps, and absolutely garden scraps. I love that there's no waste in my garden. If bugs get my spinach, I just throw the spinach and the bugs into the run. Last year, my corn was beautiful, and then all of a sudden it was buggy, and so I just pulled the ears of corn and threw them in the run, and the chickens loved them. So you can feed them your table scraps this time of year when the grass is so beautiful. And since my girls are in a run, I bag the grass when I mow. And it is really fun to pour that into the run, and they'll sort through it and they'll pick out the bugs they find. They'll pick out their favorite flowers or weeds or whatever. And they'll spend the whole day just going through my yard clippings. So chickens will eat. They know what they like, and they're good eaters.
How often do you normally clean your coop?
As far as scraping the poop out that's underneath their roost, I try to do that every day or every other day, just because there's 7 of them and it can add up. As far as a big cleaning of the hen house, I probably do mine about every other week, that I'll scrape off their roost in case there's any poop on the roost and just let that fall to the ground. Then I clean up anything that's on the floor, and I spray all of that, spray the roost and the floor with vodka. And then I take the hay that's in their nesting boxes and throw it onto the floor, and that becomes the hay that's underneath the roosts. And I put fresh hay in their nesting boxes after I've sprayed them down with vodka too. So it's really not, if you just do your routine maintenance, chickens really are very, very easy. They're not stinky, and just really a joy.
Okay. There's a question I need to address. Somebody missed some of the meeting. This meeting is being recorded, and everyone will receive a copy of it that you will be able to watch. So if you will be able to see this presentation again. Somebody says, what about snakes?
I didn't know that snakes would bother your chickens until
that's what they're asking. Yeah.
Yeah, my first batch of chicks were in the hen house, and we have 4 children. I had 4 chickens, and so of course it was the child that loved the chickens the most. I went in because I didn't close the doors, the little doors that go out into the run. I didn't close them at night. I didn't know. And I came in, and one of my young pullets was dead. And it turned out that a snake will climb up and onto the roost and will try to eat that chicken and not even realize that it can't eat that whole chicken. But so this little chick's head was all wet and its neck was all wet, but the snake hadn't been able to eat it, so it just killed it. And snakes can be a real problem. That's where the hardware cloth that we use for fencing, it can help to really sink that down into the ground so that the snakes can't get under. Now you're still going to have anywhere you have a gate or anything, you're going to have to watch, but getting that hardware cloth down there is good. We have also found that snakes will get tangled up in the poultry net that's over the top. So if you've got a spot that you can't, like a spot near a gate that you just can't fence in really well, you can wad up some of that poultry net and stuff it in there and kind of anchor it down, and that can keep the snakes out. But yeah, they are a predator, and especially for your little ones, they do love young chickens.
And the chickens be left a few days if you need to travel? And do they require daily attention?
I think there are plenty of people that do just have plenty of water and plenty of feed. And again, like I mentioned before, if those eggs have not been washed, then they don't have to be refrigerated. I don't know that I'd want to eat eggs that had sat out in August if they were out overnight, you know, so that they stayed kind of warm. I don't know that I would want to do that, but you can if you know that they've got adequate food and water. But generally, if you let somebody know that you're going to be gone and that if they'll check your chickens, they can have the eggs, you can usually find somebody that will come and do that. But in a pinch, you can leave them.
Okay. Somebody said snakes did get their chicks. Let's see. Do you use a hardware cloth?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay. Do you bury it?
Mine is sunk down. I kind of dug a trench as we were laying it. So it is sunk down. Some people will go ahead and flare it out and then put soil over the top. But I've landscaped around my run, so I can't really do that. But I do, the hardware cloth is wonderful. It keeps your little birds out as well. And besides just your snakes. And when we hear about avian flu and different things, I've never had that, but keeping the little birds out so that the only birds drinking my water are my chickens, I feel like is healthy for them. So I do like that. Hardware cloth is great.
Sounds good.
Oh, and somebody did lose their chicks to a snake. That is the worst day, isn't it?
Yep.
And Brenda, my hardware cloth is the 1/2 inch. And I think I ordered it off of Amazon actually because that was the best price because my run is kind of big, so I needed a lot. And that was a good price.
Let's see, got 2 more. Let's see. Oh, you will also get everyone will get an evaluation form that Nancy will send you also. So if you please complete that, we'd really appreciate it. And if there's any other questions, you're welcome to unmute and ask Joann any questions if you have them. You did a wonderful job, really did.
Well, thank you. I hope everybody ends up with some backyard chickens. It sounds like a lot of people already have them, and that's wonderful.
A lot do, yeah.
Yeah, we need to have a chicken tour.
Yeah.
Thank you. Y'all come on over and see my chickens. I'll give you some eggs.